Hi folks, this is your MWIS Planning Outlook with our latest long-range thoughts. Starting off with temperatures, and this is in relation to the seasonal averages over the next 5-day period, and we're quite close to average, must be said, through this time, with western regions maybe just a shade lower, eastern parts just a shade warmer. Fairly cool as well across France and northern Spain at the moment. The warmth of temperature across Europe very much across the southeast, and quite warm too in Scandinavia. Things are looking on the cooler side of average, though, as we go through the change of month into the start of August, as west or northwesterly weather patterns prevail, so no immediate signs of a returning heat wave. The weather chart we've got at the moment, this for Wednesday, is fairly straightforward, not too much happening, but there's subtle complications in there. It's a ridge of high pressure which exists just to the west of us, a northwesterly breeze across the country through Wednesday, a relatively humid atmosphere still, which is producing a lot of cloud cover, and west and northern parts of Scotland rather stuck with that cloud through Wednesday. The remnants of a front still just loitering around as well, giving some damp and drizzly and murky conditions, particularly in the morning across those more northwestern mountains. I think the higher terrain will stay shrouded throughout the daytime, the cloud base just tending to lift somewhat with time. Fairly cloudy as well elsewhere, further south across Scotland, England and Wales, although tending to lift and break a little bit higher to be above many of the tops. One or two showers forming across central southeastern parts of the Highlands, down into the borders, down the spine of the Pennines too. An odd heavier burst possible through the afternoon hours, and one or two showers as well forming across mid Wales. North Wales facing into that northwesterly breeze, again could just hold on to cloud covering the high tops in this part of the world. Rolling that story on into Thursday, and our ridge of high pressure to the west just builds further over us, so giving essentially a fair day, with again rather cloudy skies which will cover the hills in the morning at least, particularly in more western regions. Some spits and spots of drizzle, mistiness around at times. The cloud base will tend to lift and break, an improving story for most places onwards into the afternoon, with some breaks to the higher tops. Best of those typically further inland and eastwards across the country. A substantially dry day, just a very low risk of an isolated shower. The breeze fairly light, temperatures around average or a little bit on the cool side, particularly in western Scotland. We've got a weak front just pushing in from the Atlantic, not really too much to show for it, but just giving some cloud again and some bits and pieces of drizzly rain through into Friday, grazing its way across Scotland, an odd spot of light rain running into northern England and North Wales. Hardly anything really shown on the model here. What you'll generally just see is again a thickening of the cloud to cover the hills, and then that will tend to lift and rise, and some breaks forming across western Scotland through the afternoon. A southwesterly breeze will tend to strengthen through the daytime, and that may just draw a few showers into the west and northwest coast later in the daytime. That breeze is going to be a feature onwards into Saturday as well. Southwesterlies prevailing once more. Western mountains rather stuck in low cloud, and bits and pieces of rain and drizzle and some showeriness in there at times. Most places further eastwards seeing higher cloud breaks above the higher tops, at least at times, particularly eastern side of the Cairngorms. England and Wales generally doing okay for staying dry, but again bits and pieces of low cloud and some drizzly showers could just come on to Irish Sea coastal hills. Best of conditions toward the eastern side of the Pennines. We've got a feature just running in across Ireland, a small frontal system later on Saturday. That could just start to turn more persistently wet than Saturday evening across many western regions, and that running eastwards across the country as we head overnight. That weather system is expected to have cleared southeast across England by the time we get into Sunday daytime, but we're just left again with a fairly steady state westerly flow, which has got the debris once more of previous frontal systems, and that will just continue to bring some areas of cloud, drizzly showers and an odd heavier shower, particularly across more eastern regions by Sunday afternoon. Western mountains more prone to being in low cloud, eastern areas again seeing the better of cloud breaks. The west to southwesterly wind pattern continuing into the start of next week. Wind speeds will vary a bit from day to day, a relative lull possible on Monday, but again a few showers, particularly eastern parts, the greatest risk of an odd heavier shower by Monday afternoon. We're watching an area of low pressure developing over the Atlantic. That's a more lively weather feature, potentially developing through into Tuesday. Question mark on how soon that gets in, but the risk of some stronger winds more widely, possibly gales across the mountains, and some heavier and more extensive rain coming through with that system. So a poorer and more unsettled picture through the early days of next week. Some rain and showers, pretty widespread windy and cool conditions looking likely over a couple of days there through Tuesday and onwards into Wednesday. Low pressure in charge, pulling only very slowly eastwards across the country, so expect most places to see some rain and some showers at times. And as the wind turns north-northwesterly, there's that just cooling trend of temperature through next week as a whole. A broadly showery picture, I suspect, takes us toward the later stages of the week, so always one to keep some waterproofs handy. Looking at the 7-day pressure pattern averaged out up until Monday the 4th of August, and there's a suggestion of higher than average pressure starting to build its way in from the Atlantic. So maybe as we get towards next weekend, that first weekend of August, then the greater chance for some improvement as lower pressure just pulls away a bit further eastwards. That high shows some signs of expanding further over us during the next full week of August up until the 11th. With low pressure still toward the north of Scotland, we'd still most likely see something of a west-south-westerly prevailing pattern. Could just keep northwestern mountains in particular more changeable. Further south, underneath the centre of the high, a greater chance for better conditions, but I think all the while we could just still be bothered by an air mass that's coming in off the Atlantic. So getting genuinely good, settled summertime conditions may just be a little bit of a struggle, and western mountains in particular could be just prone to areas of cloud and some patchy rain at times. A rather changeable story then over the next couple of weeks. All your local details for 3 days ahead, as always, can be found on our website. That's your planning outlook for today. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.